Hi everyone and welcome back to English for You. I'm Pat.
I'm Chickling.
And we're talking about captchas in this article. We learned yesterday that captchas are a way to protect computers and computer users.
They present some distorted characters and ask users to type in what they see.
Human users can do this easily, but machines and computer programs struggle.
That's how captchas can identify machine users and stop them from accessing certain websites and apps.
We learned that captchas were created in the 1990s. They're reliable, but some people struggle with them, blind people, for example.
Another issue with captchas is that the work is wasted. People are taking the time and effort to type words, but nothing is being done with this labor.
The engineers who designed captchas thought they should be doing something with this labor, and we're going to find more about this today. Let's read through day 2 and learn.
Reading.
CAPTCHA captures more than just robots. Louis von Ahn helped invent CAPTCHAs. Later, he created reCAPTCHAs. They used the same technology, but the words came from a different source. Von Ahn's team wanted to digitize old printed books and newspapers. Computers could do most of the work, but they couldn't make out all the words. Von Ahn had internet users figure out the rest by filling in reCAPTCHAs. The team turned all the old paper copies of the New York Times into computer files in this way. Next, Von Ahn sold reCAPTCHA to Google. Google uses reCAPTCHA for security, but also to digitize old books. Even today, completing a reCAPTCHA helps supply information to this huge project. New kinds of CAPTCHAs have been developed since then. CAPTCHAs for mobile devices often ask users to click on images rather than enter words. Another new tool, No CAPTCHA reCAPTCHA, asks users to simply click a box while the program examines their online activity. Now, there are many ways to confirm you're not a robot.
So day 2 starts by introducing one of the people behind captchas. The article says, Louis von Ahn helped invent captchas.
所以呢，接下来还要说了 Later, he created reCAPTCHAs. 所以这个人呢 Louis von Ahn, 他帮忙发明了验证码，然后之后他又创造了第二代。
And the article continues, They, meaning reCAPTCHAs, use the same technology, but the words came from a different source. So a source, and this is O-U-R-C-E, not A-U-C-E, like chili sauce or tomato sauce. This is S-O-U-R-C-E. It's where something comes from. The source of the water you drink could be a river, a lake, just rainwater, and so on. Food sources could be in our country or come from abroad. A source of power could be gas or other fuels. It could be the sun, the wind, and more. And of course, you'd have a source of information. Who told you this? What's your source? So here's an example sentence. I got all of the fruit and vegetables in my shop from local sources, which means I got them from farmers nearby.
所以呢 source 就是来源或出处，所以呢某物的来源就是 a source of something。比如说 fish is a good source of vitamins and minerals， 代表维生素呢跟矿物质可以很好在鱼里面找到。那文章呢就是说他们使用相同的科技方式，只是字呢是来自于不同的出处。And what was the source for the words used in reCAPTCHA?
The article says von Ahn's team wanted to digitize old printed books and newspapers. To digitize something means to turn handwriting or something that's physical into a computer file. Of course, the file's digital, so to make it into a digital file, you digitize it.
Yeah， 所以老师有提到嘛，那个数位的就是 digital， 但是如果是动词的话就是 digitize。那这个我们就知道说，这个 Von An 的团队呢，他想要数位化一些旧书跟报纸 ，and that's a big project.
It is, it's huge. And so we see that he didn't just make people do all of it. The article says that computers could do most of the work. You know, they'll be scanning machines, things like that. They'll read it. But they, computers, couldn't make out all the words. So here this phrasal verb make out means to see something clearly, to kind of view something and understand what is it? What am I seeing here? Ah, I can make it out. It's, you know, it's a chair, it's a word, it's the letter D.
所以 make out 这一个片语，它在这边指的是理解或听出、看出的意思。那电脑可以做很多这些事情哦，只是有一些字它是看不出来、辨认不出来的。So does that mean humans did the work that machines couldn't?
That's exactly it. We see in the article that Von An had internet users figure out the rest, meaning the words computers couldn't, by filling in reCAPTCHAs. Here we're using had to mean get someone else to do something, and this is part of today's grammar structure.
对啊，我们来看一下今天的句型，这就是三个我们英文里面有三个很常见的实义动词搭配原形动词的用法。那三个字呢，我们讲到 let, make 跟 have。那这三个实义动词都会有使某人做某一件事情或使某一件事情发生的意思，不过彼此间还是有一定的差异。我们先看一下 make 通常呢是指迫使某人或造成导致什么事情发生的意思。比如说 My parents make me take violin lessons, but I don't like them. 我的爸妈呢强迫我上小提琴课，但我并不喜欢，代表是有点逼迫的意味。又或者是呢 The funny movie made me laugh so hard. 代表那个电影让我笑到快要不行了。那我们再讲一下 let 通常呢是表示允许的意思，所以呢我们说 Maggie's mom let her watch TV after dinner. 玛姬的妈妈呢允许她吃完晚餐之后看电视。那这边是 let 跟 make， 我们再来看一下 have 通常指的呢是要求某个人做好分内应该做的事情。比如我说我会叫我的助理打电话跟你约时间开会，那你就可以讲 I will have my assistant call you to set up a meeting。 那我们再补充一个实义动词，另外一个实义动词是 get。那么 get 也是同样常见的，不过呢后面要接不定词 to be。 比如说 I forgot my pen, so I got my friend to lend me one of hers. 我忘记带笔了，所以我请朋友借我一支。
So have is kind of a little bit more formal than get. That's mostly the difference there. And we use get with to, but have doesn't have a to. We also have a couple of phrasal verbs to look at in that sentence. The first is figure out, which means to understand something, to look at a problem, and to find an answer or solution to that problem or question.
所以呢 figure out 就是理解或想出的意思。
Another phrasal verb we had is fill in, which means to complete an empty area on a form or on a test question, something like that. There's an empty box or a blank space, and you put in your own personal details or on a test, the information you've learned. Now, in this case, it means typing out the words or the letters in the reCAPTCHA.
所以这边又出现一个片语 to fill in something， 它就是填写、填入的意思。So what did the people do first?
Well, we see in the next paragraph that the team, so that's Von Arn's team and the internet users, turned all the old paper copies of the New York Times into computer files in this way. So there's all these old newspapers that have been sitting there in their offices forever, just as like records, and they go, well, let's make them digital. Let's turn them into actual text. And they did it that way. I actually did something like this a long time ago.
Wow.
I worked in, my dad's a doctor. I worked in his office, and he had a load of paper notes for all his patients. but they needed to turn them into computer notes. So basically, I had a summer job of sitting there, reading the notes, and then typing them into computers. It wasn't quite as, I didn't have a computer to help me, but I digitized a couple of thousand patient medical records.
That's so cool. I thought you used a scanner or something.
No, it was all typing stuff in. This was 1998 or something when I started this. So, yeah, a lot of it by hand.
Very cool. 所以我们就知道说呢，团队呢把所有的纽约时报的旧纸本都变成了电子档。And after this, we see that next, Von Ahn sold reCAPTCHA to Google.
Yeah, and he got rich. If you sell a piece of technology like that, you're going to make a lot of money. The article continues, Google uses reCAPTCHA for security, but also to digitize old books. So they're kind of keeping both sides of this reCAPTCHA. And of course, the first idea is security. Security is the idea, the whole concept of protecting something, either by watching it or by stopping some people getting into a place, all that kind of stuff. reCAPTCHA security means protecting the websites and other apps from machines, bad computer programs, viruses, and so on. Policemen provide security, that's part of their job, and important people will have bodyguards for security. You'll see Tsai Ing-wen, she'll usually have some kind of big dudes standing around her as her bodyguards, their security. So we could say the bank is increasing its online security because it has been attacked several times by online thieves.
所以 security 就是安全措施，那是个不可数名词哦。不过呢，它也可以当保全人员的意思。那当保全人员呢，它也是不可数名词哦。所以这个字呢，我们也除了当这些字，我们也可以拿来当成安全感的意思。比如说 ，What your girlfriend needs now is the security of being loved and cared for. 那文章的意思就是说 Von Ahn 就把这个 reCAPTCHA 卖给 Google 了，那么 Google 就把它拿来当安全措施，也拿来数位化旧的纸本书籍。So now we're turning old books into ebooks.
Right, and this is still going on today. The article says, even today, completing a reCAPTCHA helps supply information to this huge project. So here the word supply means to provide, to give somebody something. We're giving information to Google Books. We're providing them with the words that their computers can't read so they can turn paper books into ebooks. We could also supply someone with food, with water, with help, with almost anything if they need it. And it can be complicated or as simple as this. After we'd all finished the quiz, the teacher supplied us with the correct answers, meaning she told us what they were.
Yeah, 所以 Pat 老师的句子里面，你们可以看到提供某人某物，就是 to supply someone with something. 那 supply 这个字呢，念法是 supply， 不是 supply. I've heard so many people pronouncing it that way. 就很多人会念 supply， 要记得是 supply。那这边是当动词哦。那在大家完成考试之后呢，老师给答案，这是Pat 老师刚刚的句子的意思。那这个字呢，它也可以当供应量的意思，不过就是个名词，所以通常我们指供应不足或者是短缺，就可以说什么东西是 in short supply。比如说 There are still places in the world where food is in short supply。那么文章的代表，即使在今天呢，完成 reCAPTCHA 的步骤呢，仍是有助于这个庞大的项目提供讯息。
So that's the past. All that's already happened. Let's move on to the present. We see that new kinds of captchas have been developed since then.
所以从那个时候开始呢，就出现一些新类型的 captcha。
So let's look at one. We've got captchas for mobile devices often ask users to click on images rather than enter words. So a mobile device means a phone, a tablet, or something where looking at a screen is easy, but typing on a keyboard maybe isn't so convenient. So if you're on your phone, maybe it's not so easy to see the words in the reCAPTCHA and type them in, but if you're just clicking on some of these pictures, like which ones show a car or a dog, then it's a bit easier.
Yeah， 所以这边出现的单字呢是 mobile device， 它指的是行动装置的意思，像你的手机、平板电脑都算是。
And when you're using a mobile device or even any computer, we often use the verb click. That means to touch a particular part of a website or app or program with the mouse, and then you'll press a button on the mouse. Or if it's a mobile device, you can click on something by just touching it with your finger or thumb on the touch screen. And doing this could take you to a new website, open a menu, or perform a function. Now, of course, we can also say click a mouse, which is just press the button on the mouse. But here, click basically means touch an area on a screen, execute some kind of computer command. But we call it click because mouses came first, and that's the sound a mouse make when you do go to a link or an app button or something like that and press the button. So you might say to somebody, click on where it says file, and then click on save from the menu that opens.
所以 click 就是用滑鼠点选，那么按什么东西就是 to click on something。老师刚刚的句子里面有出现。那 click 这个字在口语上呢，我们可以当两个人刚见面一见如故的感觉，所以我可以说 they clicked the first time they met.
We also saw the phrase rather than, which means you do one thing instead of another thing. You kind of just make a different choice, take a different action, something like that. You don't do this, you do this.
And rather than 就是不是，所以呢，手机或平板上面使用 captchas 通常是叫我们点照片，我们就不用再打字了。
So back to the article, which introduces another kind of captcha and says another new tool, no captcha, reCAPTCHA, if you can kind of put all that name together. This tool asks users to simply click a box while the program examines their online activity. So we'll talk about exactly how that appears in a moment. We'll see it in the magazine. Let's just look at the word examine first. Examine means to look closely at something. You check all the details in a very clear way and learn as much as you can about a particular thing. A doctor would examine a patient or maybe just a patient's blood to find out what illness they might have. A school examines students by giving them tests to see if they have learned well. Here's another example. The police officer examined the crime scene for clues.
所以 examine 就是仔细的检查或审查，那它的名词呢，其实就是 examination， 它也是有检查、审查的意思。所以某件事情或某物在被进行调查当中，我们就加一个 under 就可以了。比如说 ，the items found in his backpack are still under examination。所以文章就说另外一个新工具，这个 no captcha reCAPTCHA 让用户呢直接点击一个小视窗就可以了，然后程式就会开始审查他们的网络活动。So a no captcha reCAPTCHA is the one where you just tick a box that says I'm not a robot?
Yeah, that's it. There's a little box on the screen and it says, I am not a robot. And you just click it to say yes. And then in a couple of seconds, while the little wheel turns, the program, the kind of capture code behind it, checks your activity. It checks where you've been online. And if nothing looks strange or criminal or just unusual, then it lets you pass.
And that's why we say now there are many ways to confirm you're not a robot.
Which is great. To confirm something means to say you are certain of a particular thing, or it could also mean to make sure of a particular thing. So if you plan to meet up with your friends, you might message them the day before or earlier that day to confirm you're still meeting. When are we meeting? Where? Right? It's 7 o'clock, right? That's right. I'm confirming it. You check, basically, even though you already think you know the answer. For example, we might say, the restaurant called to confirm our booking for a table for 6 people at 7 p.m. on Friday.
所以 confirm 就是证实、确定的意思。那么我们后面可以加上 that， 再加上一个句子，或者是直接加上名词，代表你要 confirm 的东西。比如说 Please confirm what you said on the phone by writing it down。 那这个字呢，它是动词嘛，它的名词就是 confirmation， 通常指的是书面的确认或者是证实肯定。所以文章的意思代表说，现在就有很多方式来证实你不是一个机器人。
And that's the end of the article, so let's go to today's For You chat question.
For You chat.
And our question is, do you think we'll ever make robots that can think like humans? Why or why not?
Well, I think it's a yes for me because, well, look at the technology we have nowadays. It's really something we couldn't have imagined a long time ago. Like maybe 15, 16 years ago, I didn't even know I would be using a smartphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
What do you think?
Well, I'm not sure if that means they can think like humans. We may be able to build robots that can copy what humans do and can do math calculations and code and all that kind of engineering stuff faster than humans can. But will they ever have the kind of human sort of creative spark? The stuff that allows humans to write amazing music or paint pictures or do all that stuff. If we programmed a robot and said, look at all these pictures by like Michelangelo and Picasso and everybody else. Now you paint. Will the robot just copy? Or will it come up with something completely new? If it listens to the music, will it be able to write a new symphony or just copy what has already been done?
Yeah, but you know that actually all the singers might be replaced in the future because they've designed this program that can actually copy the way you sing and then exactly like you. But there is a lack of emotions.
Right. Will the robots be able to write the music that gets sung in the first place?
Yeah.
So, that's the question. So, I'm not sure if we will ever be able to create a robot that can kind of think with that human kind of creativity and inspiration and all the rest. And I think we will probably never do that. Or if we do, it'll only be in a very limited area. Like, you can only come up with this kind of thing. Like, you might be able to create your own video game world, but that's it. If then someone asks you, well, how do I talk to my friend about his relationship troubles? The same robot isn't going to go like, I know exactly what to do.
Oh, yeah.
He'll have no idea. So they won't be able to do everything a human can do, I think. But I guess I'm not sure if I'll ever get old enough to see. I'll maybe beyond my lifetime, but who knows?
Yeah.
But that's all we have time for. Thanks very much for listening, everyone. For English for You, I'm Pat.
I'm Chickling.
And we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review.
Source. While Peter was writing his paper, he was careful to note all of his sources. Security. Usually, guards are responsible for security at banks and large stores. Supply. The factory that supplies our materials will shut down for a week next month. Click. Daniel clicked the picture on his screen to open up the game, and then he started playing. Examine. Ken examined his bills, receipts, and bank account carefully to find out where the error was. Confirm. Amy was asked to confirm her address before the bank mailed her a new card.
智慧小补帖
Digitize. Mobile device.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www. www.english4u.net www.english4u.net